Hey, what's going on, everybody? KSA Adam here with Fallbrook Village Talk, and I'm super excited. We have Faro Trupiano, excuse me, on live with us, which is a huge honor. How you doing, Faro?
I'm doing awesome, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. Appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. Super excited to hear your story. I know a little bit about it, but I really am excited to just hear you kind of break it down for us, where you came from and go from there.
Well, right on. Well, appreciate you having me on the show. Always enjoy working with you guys. And,
Absolutely.
Fallbrook's such a great community. And I just feel like after so many years, it's my home, it's my people. So I enjoy being able to do this and just kind of, for those that don't know me or don't know my story kind of thing, I appreciate the opportunity to share it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Um, But yeah, it's amazing. I actually really love telling a story. I'll just briefly say that I feel like my time in Fallbrook is really kind of due to one individual. A long time ago, a little old man called Herb Lewis came into my restaurant in Oceanside and told me about Fallbrook, and I had no idea where it was or what it was. And he told me that he had a hotel in Fallbrook that had an empty restaurant and that I should come check it out. And I did. Fell in love with Fallbrook, fell in love with the people. And that was it. Like he pretty much changed the course of my life forever, because I don't know if I ever would have ended up in Fallbrook if it wasn't for him pushing me to come see Fallbrook, come check it out, come check out the hotel and the restaurant. And that was over inside the La Estancia next to Palometa.
Right, right. And what was the name of the restaurant? I forget.
Well, it was Trupiano's.
Was that originally Trupiano's? I thought that was it DiGiorgio or something before
That
you
was
then.
after. So that's after I
Oh,
left there
gotcha.
and opened up my Main Street restaurant.
Gotcha.
Is when it changed over to Georgia's.
I had no idea that Trupiano's was originally over there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what I think is so interesting about Fallbrook, there's a lot of people that have a similar story to that, where it was just one person that, was super adamant about saying, such great things about Fallbrook that brought people there. I was actually born and raised in Fallbrook as well because of a similar type reason. My dad was friends with the guy that owns the Collector, Bill Larson. Yeah, and he worked with him, for years. And he just, mentioned, come up and see me at my house. And yeah, he drove up from San Diego, and that's how my family ended up in Fallbrook as well. So that's really cool, man. How long were you out in California? Were you born and raised here in California?
I wasn't. I was actually born in Michigan, spent the first
Oh,
11 years of my life in Michigan. My parents actually settled in Michigan from Sicily. And then we came out here in 1986, moved to Orange County. We were there until 1991, and then moved to Oceanside in 91.
got it.
And that's where my parents have been ever since.
Got it. And ever since they came from Sicily, were they in the restaurant business?
Yeah. Well,
Really?
when they first got here, actually, my dad didn't even speak any English. He worked for Lazy Boy Company in Michigan, and my mom just basically just knew how to cook. We had a cousin in Chicago that was a bread maker, so he taught my parents how to make bread, and then from there evolved learning how to make pizza dough, and then that's where it all started, man. 1969, Chicago was our first restaurant, and now here we
Wow.
are 50 years later, and 22 restaurants over the course of my family's career.
Wow. That's so cool. So you had a really good base and foundation getting into the restaurant business, obviously.
Yep.
I got to ask though, so did the first restaurant have lazy boys in them?
No, that job didn't pan out so good for my dad. He wasn't
No.
cut out for the for that kind of what do they call that, assembly line type work. Uh, he needed to
Right.
be around people and stuff like that. So
Totally.
no,
Yeah. So pretty quickly thereafter, he found the restaurant business. Then he wasn't doing that for too long.
right. Yeah.
Gotcha. Right on, man. So you guys moved to Oceanside, and then how old were you when you started getting into the restaurant business?
Um, well, really, I grew up in it. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember going to the restaurant after school and hanging out there, doing my homework there. But it really wasn't until, I mean, I started working as a teenager for my family. But it wasn't until 2000 that I actually, I was 25 years old. I was at a point in my career where, I couldn't work for mom and dad forever. And I made my dad an offer he couldn't refuse. And I made him sell me his restaurant.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you walked right into your family business and started your own thing. That's cool. Do you still have that restaurant?
I don't. So I had that from 2000, 2005, sold it to my older brother, and then he had it till 2010.
Gotcha.
And then we closed it in 2010 after almost 20 years of business.
Gotcha. So you transitioned completely then. You left Oceanside and then moved your whole shop over to La Estancia.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay. And then you were there for a few years and then you went to Main Street.
Right. And it's funny because before I even went to the hotel, I remember standing in the parking lot where Trupiano's is currently. And I actually went over, I don't know if you remember the Cold Stone that was there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The corner. I went and looked, that place was vacant. And I looked at, or before it was Cold Stone. And I looked at that place and I remember looking across the street saying, wow, that's the place I want. I really want to be in that place.
And you just knew.
2 years later, the opportunity presented itself. And it's been, I'll be celebrating my 15th year on Main Street this November.
Wow. That's such an accomplishment. I mean, and it's sad because so many businesses come and go on Main Street. So that's really saying something that you've been there for that long and made that many people happy to stick around. That's awesome. I'm sure it's been amazing. So from there, you went and opened 127 and then had the two hats going at once. And then, of course, the catastrophic fire. Yeah. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't imagine what that must have been like, just building this up. It's your baby. And then pretty quickly after you guys opened, I want to say that, tragedy happened. Is that pretty accurate?
It is. And especially, all the blood, sweat, and tears that kind of went into opening it, changing it over from the Village News and kind of creating this new concept in Fallbrook, all the time and the money that went into
You're totally doubling down. You already had your other expenses and everything still running and, trying to double down. I understand what you're talking about, being an entrepreneur as well. So how long did that take? Sorry, I was just curious how long that took, that build up to where you had thought about it, and then you actually took action and started moving some pieces to try and make it happen.
It was about a year of just kind of contemplation, kind of figuring out it financially, because, I was committed to do it without any outside financing kind of thing. I wanted to finance it myself. And it was a lot of pondering for sure. And
I'm sure.
It's hard enough having one restaurant in a small town, and then for me to try to do two, it was a big risk, but
totally.
I had the Fallbrook people behind me, and everybody kept saying, "Do it, Fado, do it."
Right. Well, you've done a great job, and I think that is a testament to your success about how involved you've become in the community all these years. So it really isn't any surprise to me that your second venture just took off like it did. Do you know exactly how the fire started?
Yeah, so I mean, I just know that it was an electrical fire. Most restaurant fires are grease fires, but this was actually some kind of surge electricity, from the electrical board or from the circuit panel, something to do with the ice machine and just kind of creating a spark. And who knows? It wasn't even because it was old wiring or anything, because I had to replace all the electrical wires and stuff like that. But kudos to the firefighters who came, because it could have been a lot worse. That building definitely could have burnt to the ground. But they were able to salvage it, so.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how good of a job they did. I was thinking about it. The home is built. It was essentially a home, right? Initially, it was built in the 1850s or something?
1884.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, nothing but wood in there. So, they did a great job keeping it. Man, that's amazing. So
we were only open for 15 months before the fire. So,
we were only for how long? How long were you open?
15 months.
15 months. Wow. So you
So
were just really starting to run.
Cruising altitude, and
Yeah.
and that was it.
Man, what a devastation. I can't imagine, how hard that must have been to bounce back. But I mean, you truly are, the phoenix rising from the ashes. I love the marketing that you did on that. And, the dedication it must have taken to, say it's okay, shrug it off, and to come back. Because, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't like insurance just stepped up and covered it. I'm sure you had to really, dig deep and push through, I'm sure, huh?
Yeah, it was hard, Adam. It was just, the first year was very different. Insurance did a lot. I have to say, it wasn't a horrible experience dealing with the
Oh,
insurance.
good. That's great.
But unfortunately, because there was so much damage and the extent of the damage was so severe that having to, that the fact that we took 2 years to reopen, it was that second year that really set me back and made things really challenging, because all the insurance money was gone. Then it became, now I had to start kind of financing it myself, and I had to start paying rent again, a year prior to its reopening. So,
wow. So you're back at square one almost.
It really almost -1, just because, we had to do even more than what I did the first time, because 30% of the building actually burnt down to the ground. So we had to rebuild the whole structure.
Oh my gosh.
So it,
you don't own the building though.
I don't.
Okay. So the landlord helped you out, I'm sure, right? In a lot of that, or?
Well, he had his own insurance that,
right.
that took care of a lot of the structural type stuff.
Right.
But
you had to do all the lipstick again, right? And make it your own.
Yep. And I was underinsured. So, that was a huge learning mistake for sure.
Sure. Well, you definitely put your money into the people of Fallbrook, I would say. They definitely rallied back around you, and it's off and running and doing great, right?
It is. They, the support of Fallbrook, I mean, even from the fire through the construction, the demo, and then now after the reopening, they've just, I can't say enough about, the people of Fallbrook, and, and their support has been tremendous.
Yeah, it's seriously amazing. And that's, one of the things for me, why I love the place so much is just because people do care. I meant to actually post on Friends of Fallbrook the other day. I was such a dingus. I drove off with my book, my notepad with my checkbook in it, and it just fell off the back of my trunk. And somebody was nice enough to bring it to my house and left me a little note. I mean, where does that happen? I mean, Fallbrook is seriously an amazing place to be for that reason alone. So back to 127, your baby. What are you doing with it now that it's up and running and kicking?
Well, I wanted to kind of take a whole year just to kind of, I don't know, kind of plant my feet again, kind of get things up and running, kind of just establish, consistency, staff, all those things. And now that I've done that, because I reopened February 25th, so we just had our 1-year anniversary of the reopening.
Nice. Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you. Now it's time for this new year, especially with summer coming up, to really kind of step it up. I really have kind of tried to promote myself as a venue where you can have, your wedding or birthday or an anniversary or any of those kind of things. And that's really gone great. I just recently did a comedy show that was a huge hit. It was a sold out crowd. Fallbrook was super stoked and just kind of having something different to participate in and to attend. It was awesome.
Yeah, I actually went. I had a great time as well. I would say you've done a great job of getting your ideas out on the venue. I'm actually doing my wedding with you too. So I'm super excited as well. And if you didn't know, Faro is more or less a one-stop shop. He's got everybody that you guys could use for an event of that nature, because I've got too much going on. I really don't want the headache of coordinating everything. So he's made it really, really easy for us so far. getting all the ducks in a row for the wedding. I know it's going to be really awesome. I'm excited to do it with you, buddy.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Right on. So you're doing events. You just did the comedy show. That was super fun. And it was really surprising. You guys were doing like full on dinners and stuff right there in front of the comedy show. That was so cool.
Yeah. It was like I didn't really know how to structure it, and I didn't want to just do lineup chairs and stuff like that. I wanted everybody to have just this kind of experience of market lights, cool comedian, food and beer and drinks and stuff like that. And it really worked out. It was really great.
Yeah, it was super private, and it was a really, really good time. It was way more than I was expecting. So yeah, great job on that. What do you have coming up in the future? What can we expect?
Well, last year was kind of my first trial in doing kind of like a summer concert series. I did six concerts last year. Still kind of working out the kinks on what I need to do to make those events super successful. I know it's what Fallbrook people want. It's just trying to get them there, doing the right marketing. But so I'm going to try again this year. Maybe do a little bit, advance notice, create some posters, maybe some excitement early on. Book my bands and my musicians early. And I'm excited because there's really, there's not a lot of venues in Fallbrook that you can listen to live music and eat outside and kind of this crazy, awesome ambiance.
Yeah, and it really is that exactly. I mean, you don't realize you're in, Fallbrook. You go in the back there and it's so private and secluded. It really does have a great ambiance. Like you said, the feel is super, super unique. So I'm imagining, it'll be great for, little venue, for, local bands and things like that. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too.
When is that going to kick off?
It's probably when it gets a little bit warmer, maybe, June or so. Just because, Fallbrook or, summer nights in Fallbrook, especially when it's warm, are beautiful. So, so kind of looking forward to a June launch of that.
That's awesome. So you guys have like this full on tap house. How does that work? Do you guys bring in like different breweries every week, or how do you guys pick your beer list? I know a lot of my buddies are super, beer drinkers or whatever. I don't know what the connoisseur word is, but, they're always, raving about all the selection. How do you guys go about finding that?
Well, I have to say, Adam, as much as I love the restaurant business, my favorite part of what I do for a living has become choosing these beers, because I actually single-handedly choose. I have 20 beers, 20 craft beers that I offer on a daily basis, kind of thing. Right. They're all rotating. I know a lot of restaurants and tap houses, maybe they'll have like a core set of beers that they have on all the time. Right. But there's so many amazing craft beers out there that I just want to, I want to try them all. And so
this is more about you, not about the client.
It really is. But you guys are the benefactors.
Absolutely. But your passion comes through, because you can tell you absolutely are interested, because it's always changing from what I can see. I don't recognize, a whole lot of beers in the first place, but it sounds like everybody's super stoked on that.
Yeah, it's become really fun. And it's actually neat to see kind of the evolution of, our bar at the Social House at 127, just because, it's also kind of a unique experience where, there's a lot of great bars. There's, a couple great bars in Fallbrook. But those, that ambiance is very different, where I feel like at 127, it's true to its name, and it's a true social house. I get all kinds of people, by the time that they leave, they've already exchanged numbers and information, and now they've become friends because they were hanging out at 127 at the bar. So
I couldn't agree more. You guys have a completely unique feel, and it's got that upscale feel, but still comfortable, rustic. It's got a great feel to it. So I can totally agree with you there. And I'm sure it's fun for you to get to know all the people of Fallbrook, because it sounds like you're doing a lot of tasting yourself. It's
always fun to interact and to hang out with my customers, and I feel like the majority of them now are really my friends and not just customers. So
exactly, that's how we met. You know,
Yeah.
we met years and years ago, and we became friends over the course of you know, the time going by. But that's so cool, man. So how does the family life tie into this? I know that the restaurant business is super demanding, right? You guys don't really get holidays from what it seems because you're always working, right? So, I mean, how does your family put up with you?
Well, it's tough. It's a hard business, and I feel that you know, I have to say kudos to my wife. She's a pretty amazing woman. She puts up with a lot. Just because my schedule is just it's so crazy, and you know,
Right,
there's not a set schedule. There's not
right,
nothing is set. You know, I could say, okay, you know, hey, I'm getting off at 9, and then here I am getting home at 10:30 because
right.
5 minutes before we closed, the table walked in, or you know, something broke, or I had to fix something, or you know, so it's just it requires a lot of patience and understanding. And my
Yeah.
wife has been amazing, but I did have to give her the talk before we started dating. You know, and let her know it's like, hey, February 14th or Valentine's Day never falls on February 14th for us. You know, New Year's Eve doesn't ever happen. You know, dinner
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock, not very often.
Right. I totally get it. Being in the real estate business, you know, my schedule changes constantly. I do get Valentine's Day, luckily, but I totally know what you're saying. So, yeah, that's awesome. I did have to have the talk with Kelly as well.
Yep.
Right on, man. So, yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Other than just you know, this November, we're going to really do a big thing at Trupiano's for our 15-year anniversary.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and so I really haven't worked out the details, but definitely kind of for those watching and listening, put that on your calendar. I don't have an exact date, but sometime in November, we're going to throw a pretty big party to celebrate 15 years on Main
That's
Street.
super exciting, man. That's super exciting. Right on. What's the exact date? Do you remember it? I'm sure you do.
I do, November 10th.
November 10th. That's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Faro, for taking the time to meet with me today. I certainly learned a lot about you I didn't know. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And yeah, please feel free to comment, question, reach out to Faro if you have any other questions about what he has going on. Some amazing things looking forward to. And I hope you guys enjoy your day. Thanks
Awesome,
again,
man.
Faro.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Yep. Take care, buddy.
Take care.